Hi, I'm Tom. I'm one of the co-founders of Canonical AI, and I'm here to share with you a demo of our product analytics platform for multimodal AI agents. Our product has three parts. The first part, we map the call journeys that users go down when they interact with your AI agent. In the second part, we give you the ability to dig into individual call paths and look at transcripts from those individual call paths and see what's happening in them. And in the third part of the product, we show you quantitative metrics on different technical attributes of how your multimodal AI agent call is going, showing you things like latency and number of interruptions. So let's start with the call journey map. What we're doing here is we're taking all your calls and we're figuring out what stages the calls go through and what typical paths that those stages go down. So what we find is that um, you know, a lot of your calls will kind of tend to go, the successful ones will kind of progress through these stages. And then you'll find that some of your unsuccessful calls that didn't meet the objective, they're going through these other down these other different paths. In this map, you can see where your calls, what stages your calls are going through when they're successful and what stages they go through when they fail. So just to walk you through this a little bit, um, we have a sample of 5 calls and they all start with a greeting. Those 5 calls go through the greeting stage, and 2 of them end in success. After the greeting stage, 4 of the calls go into a recording consent stage, and of those 4, 2 of them end in success. Then the next stage for these calls, there's only 2 calls that go from greeting to recording consent to objective setting. So that means that 2 calls dropped off from recording consent to objective setting. In other words, the caller hung up at recording consent. But of those 2 calls that made it to objective setting, all of them were successful. We can then look at the path on the right, because this is the one we're going to dig into more in the next part of the demo. We're going to show that there was a call that started with a greeting, it went right to a customer request, and then after the customer request, it went to information collection and it was not successful. So let's take a closer look at this call because as the voice AI or multimodal AI agent developer, you want to see like what calls are failing and why they're failing so that you can do something about it. Um, so we're going to dig into the individual call path for, or the individual transcript for that particular call. And what we're seeing is a summary of the call, some metadata at the top, a summary of the call, the outcome, it was not successful. Um, and then the call path went from greeting, customer request to information collection. In the transcript section, we see what each person said, who was speaking, the stage of the call, and the transcription confidence. How confident was the ASR model in the transcription output accuracy? So the way this call plays out is you see that the AI agent greets the caller first. The caller says they want to know the price of the products. The AI agent says, well, it depends on the size of the rug. What size are you looking for? And then here's where things begin to go south. The caller says incise. And clearly that's a transcription error. We can see the low transcription confidence and like the incise isn't a size. Um, and so the AI gets confused and says, well, what do you mean? Or what size are you interested in? The sizes can only be twin, queen, or king. And the customer is probably saying, I think queen size, in size again. And again, there's a transcription error. And so the AI doesn't know how to proceed. And ultimately, what happens in this call is that there's another transcription error where the customer repeats ink, inside ink, and the AI models says ink typically stands for incorporated, which isn't a size, and that's when the caller hangs up. So as a developer, you can look at this and say, oh, I have a bunch of calls that are failing at this step, and when I dig into them, I see that there tends to be transcription errors around the size of the product. There's a number of things I could maybe try to do about this to improve my product. I could do things like use a better ASR model, or think of instructions from my AI agent for what it should do when the transcription confidence is low. And this sort of thing um, is really hard to do if you're just randomly sampling, um, calls and listening to calls, because you don't have that sort of visibility to see like where are the repeating problems and what to do about them. But with our product, you can see more systematically what's going on in your calls and how to improve them. So we've covered the first two parts of the product, the call journey map and the individual call paths. Next, I want to show you the third part. In the third part, we show you some technical metrics on how your calls go. We show you things like what's the latency for the AI? Like how long does it take the AI to respond? What's the latency for the human? Is there background noise or low signal to noise ratio SNR that might be leading to transcription errors? We show you the number of interruptions. And these are the sorts of stats that you can monitor on the aggregate. So if you're processing 5,000 calls a day, you can just look at the calls, look at the metrics on your calls and make sure that all of them have fewer interruptions per minute than two. And it might tell you like, oh, everything's going smoothly. But the calls where there's lots of interruptions, you might want to dig into those and see what you can do to improve the product experience. So that's it. That's where we are. That's what we're building with our product analytics platform for multimodal voice AI and our multimodal AI agents. And we're excited to hear from you. Please reach out if you're interested in trying it out. Thanks. Bye.